Ever find yourself in a situation where you really need, like, to prove something, but, like, all you have to do it with are just words on paper?
Oh, yeah.
That's the challenge for a lot of parents in custody disputes.
I can imagine.
We're diving into one of these cases today
Okay.
where a father, we'll call him Alan,
Okay.
is fighting for custody and visitation rights for his son, Ben.
All right.
And this is taking place in Louisiana.
Okay.
What's really interesting is that we're seeing this personal battle through a bunch of legal documents.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like we're putting a puzzle together,
Mm-hmm.
but we only have these formal, dry pieces.
Yeah.
So the first document is Alan's proposed joint custody plan.
Okay.
And wow, it is so detailed.
Really?
Yeah, it's not just like you have him this weekend, I have him the next.
Right.
It outlines alternating weekly custody holiday schedules, how they'll communicate about Ben, who claims Ben on their taxes.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Sounds very thorough.
It does.
Yeah. What does that tell us?
I mean, right away, it seems like he's really trying to think of everything to avoid arguments later.
Yeah. He's anticipating conflicts and trying to head them off at the pass.
Right. He's like, let's get this all on paper now so there's no question later.
Right.
It makes me think he wants to be really involved in every part of his son's life.
That's one way to look at it. Sure.
But could it also be a way of trying to, like, control everything?
Oh, that's interesting.
Even control the other parent?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm sure the court would think about that too.
Right.
But for now, all we can really say is that he wants a very structured co-parenting arrangement,
Yeah.
which isn't bad, especially with a high conflict separation,
Yeah, for sure. Less stressful for everyone.
especially Ben Wright.
Right.
Yeah.
So to see the mom's perspective, who we'll call Claire,
Okay.
we have these interrogatories.
Okay.
What are those?
Think of it like 20 questions, but like legal 20 questions.
Oh, okay.
And the stakes are way higher than just like a game. These questions are meant to get specific info that Alan's lawyer can use.
So they're not just asking stuff to be like, oh, by the way, how are you doing?
Right, exactly.
These are very pointed questions.
Uh-huh.
And looking at what they're asking Claire, it feels less like they're trying to find out facts and more like they want to make her look bad.
Oh, interesting.
There are so many questions about her income, why she isn't working full-time, what her child care is like.
Uh-huh.
They even ask about her social life,
Really?
how often she goes out if she drinks.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah, those questions definitely stand out, don't they?
Yeah.
How would you feel getting those questions?
Honestly, I would feel like they were attacking me.
Yeah.
Even if it's technically just asking for information,
Right.
it just feels like they're saying she's not a good parent.
Yeah. That's a tactic you see a lot in custody cases.
Really?
It's not just about proving your client is a good parent. It's about making the other one look bad.
Oh, I see.
And that leads us to the next documents, which are even more direct.
These are the requests for admissions of facts.
Yes.
It feels like they're trying to box Claire in.
Yeah, they want her to admit to specific things like that Alan's been a good father, that he's paid child support, that Ben has stayed overnight at other people's houses,
Okay.
things like that.
So very pointed.
Yes, very much so.
And then there's this one about Claire's uncle who lives with her mom.
Okay.
He's around Ben a lot. And they want Claire to admit that she doesn't like leaving Ben alone with him.
Oh, wow.
It's like if she admits it, then it looks like her home isn't safe.
Right.
But if she denies it, then they could bring the uncle in to say she's lying.
Exactly. It puts her in a difficult position.
Yeah. So they're using her family against her.
It's tough, but it's part of the
It
strategy.
just shows how much this is a battle.
Yeah, each side is looking for an edge.
Right. So speaking of advantages, let's look at Alan's petition to establish custody, visitation, and child support.
Okay.
This is where he lays out his case.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back at all.
What do you mean?
He says Claire has kept him from seeing Ben,
Oh, wow.
that he wants joint custody with equal time, and that he bought a house in New Iberia to be closer to Ben.
That's a big step.
It is, he's not just talking, he's taking action.
Right.
He also says he wants to claim Ben on his taxes, so he's showing he's willing to be financially responsible.
So he's saying, look, I'm a committed and capable parent.
Exactly.
But do those claims actually matter legally?
That's where the Louisiana laws come in.
Okay.
Throughout these documents, they mention laws about joint custody child support and the best interest of the child standard.
I've seen that phrase.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean?
It's the main idea in custody cases.
Okay.
The court has to decide what's best for the kid, no matter what the parents want.
That seems hard.
There's no easy answer.
Right. How do they figure that out?
Well, the law gives them some factors to consider, like the child's safety, stability, emotional ties with each parent, the parent's ability to care for them, the home environment, even if there's been any abuse.
Wow, that's a lot to think about.
The judge has a tough job.
For sure.
Yeah.
And this is why you need a good lawyer.
Absolutely. Someone who knows the law and can present your case well.
Right. It's not just about who's right or wrong.
It's about using the law to your advantage.
Okay, this is feeling like some serious strategy.
Oh, yeah. Every move matters.
Speaking of moves, we have Alan's objections to the hearing officer's recommendations.
Oh, interesting. What are those about?
This shows that Alan is still fighting even after that hearing.
I see.
He's challenging what they said about custody and child support.
Uh-huh.
And he's saying that what Claire said about her income isn't accurate, which changes the child support he has to pay.
Wow. So even a small detail can become a big problem.
Yeah, everything is connected.
And this is a good example of how these cases aren't always straightforward.
Right. And we're just looking at these documents.
Yeah.
There's so much more going on behind them.
Absolutely. The emotions, the relationships, a kid's future is at stake.
Yeah. And that's what we'll keep exploring as we look at more of this case.
I'm ready for the next part.
So we've seen Alan's side of the story, but now we're switching gears
Okay.
to Claire's perspective.
Got it.
And we get to do that thanks to more of those legal 20 questions.
Interrogatories.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are for Alan.
Okay.
And they're interesting because they're challenging what he's saying.
Really? How so?
Well, remember how he made a big deal about buying a house in New Iberia to be closer to Ben?
Yeah.
Well, they're asking him how much time he actually spends there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So are you really living there, or was this just for the custody case?
It makes you think twice about everything else in the documents, right?
Yeah. It's like how much of this is just for show?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just about the house.
What else?
They're asking about what he does with Ben when they're together.
Like specific activities.
Yeah. What do they do? How does he show Ben he loves him?
So Claire's lawyer is trying to see if Alan is really involved or if it's just surface level.
Exactly. Is
Yeah.
he just there sometimes, or is he a steady presence in Ben's life?
Gotcha.
And they don't stop there.
What do you mean?
They're also asking about Alan's finances.
Oh, really?
Where does his money come from? How much debt does he have? Can he really take care of Ben?
Classic move, trying to make him look unstable.
Yeah.
Doesn't that seem risky, though?
How so?
Like, what if it makes Claire look bad instead?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like she's just trying to attack him.
Yeah,
Well, remember, she wants to look like the more responsible one.
right.
So if she can make him look shaky financially, it helps her case.
And then there's this question that really surprised me.
What is it?
They ask about Alan's dog.
His dog. What does that have to do with anything?
At first I thought the same thing, but then I realized they're being sneaky.
Oh, how so?
They ask if the dog is aggressive or dangerous.
So they're trying to make it seem like Alan's home isn't safe.
Exactly, without actually saying it.
That's clever.
Yeah, and they do this in other ways too.
Like what?
Claire also filed objections to Alan's proposed joint custody plan.
Okay.
She says the schedule is too disruptive for Ben and that it doesn't work with his school and activities.
So she's trying to show that she understands Ben's needs better.
Yeah, and that Alan isn't really thinking about that stuff.
Right.
She also claims that Alan isn't always there for his visits and that his mom has to watch Ben a lot.
Oh, so she's making him look unreliable.
Yep. And she's fighting him on the taxes too.
The dependent thing.
Yeah, she says she's the main one supporting Ben financially, so she should get to claim him.
It's all connected. Claire is trying to show that she's consistent, stable, and financially responsible.
Right, and that Alan isn't.
Exactly.
It's amazing how they're both trying to tell their own story.
Yeah,
But how does the court know who's telling the truth?
that's the hard part for the judge.
Yeah.
They have to look at everything and decide what's best for Ben.
Based on that best interest thing.
Exactly.
But that still seems vague.
I know, but there are specific things they look at.
Like what?
We talked about safety and stability and the emotional bonds, but they also think about the parents' mental and physical health, how Ben gets along with any siblings, and even what Ben wants if he's old enough to say.
So it's really about Ben's whole life, not just what the parents are arguing about.
Exactly.
Wow, these cases are complicated.
They are, because there's no easy answer.
It makes you realize that these documents don't tell the whole story.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much going on behind the scenes.
Real feelings, complex relationships, and a child's life hanging in the balance.
Yeah, this is heavy stuff.
It is, and that's why we need to look at these cases carefully.
With sensitivity.
Yes, because there's more than one side to every story.
So in the next part, we'll see how this case ends and talk about what it all means.
Sounds good.
We've been through a lot with this case.
We have.
All the legal stuff back and forth.
Yeah, it's like a courtroom drama.
But with real people.
Ugh, right, these aren't just characters.
And I think it's really interesting how both parents are trying to control the story.
Oh, absolutely. They're trying to shape what the court hears.
Like with those interrogatories.
The 20 questions.
Right, they were using those to make the other parent look bad.
It's all about how you present the information.
Yeah, you can highlight certain things and leave other stuff out.
Exactly. It's subtle, but it's powerful.
So these documents are never really neutral.
No, they're tools.
But you can't just rely on words, right?
Nope. You need proof.
Evidence.
Exactly. The court needs to see something concrete.
Like in Alan's petition, he talked about specific things he'd done to be a good dad.
Right. Like buying that house.
And Claire had her own evidence, too.
Financial records and arguments about the schedule.
All to show that she's the better parent.
It shows you can't just say things, you have to back them up.
And having a good lawyer seems super important.
Oh, absolutely. Someone who knows how this all works.
Especially when things are so emotional.
Yeah, custody battles are tough.
So let's imagine we're in court.
Okay.
What story do you think each parent would tell?
Well, I think Alan would say he's a good dad who just wants to be with his son. He'd talk about everything he's done to be there for Ben and how he's willing to work with Claire.
And how she's keeping them apart.
Exactly.
What about Claire?
I think she'd say she's the one who's always put Ben first. She'd talk about how stable she is, how she takes care of Ben's needs, and how maybe Alan isn't as reliable.
So two different versions of the truth.
Right, and the judge has to decide which one makes more sense.
And which is better for Ben.
That's where the best interest of the child comes in.
It's not about who wins or loses.
It's about what's best for Ben.
This whole case really shows how complicated these situations are.
They are, and how important the judge's role is.
It's a huge responsibility.
Making decisions that affect a child's life.
And for everyone listening, it's a reminder that legal stuff can get really personal.
Yeah, it can touch anyone's life.
So it's good to be informed, know your rights, and make sure the system is fair.
Especially for those who need it most.
Well said. Thanks for diving into this case with me.
Anytime. It was fascinating.